In the know, non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
You like that? You like that?
You know what we like? We like when we come on a podcast on a Monday morning, for instance, yesterday, and we tell you awesome Purple Daily listeners and viewers, hey, we're doing a fundraiser this week. We're calling it the Power of Sports, Score North's Power of Sports, to benefit the Courage Kenny Rehabilitation Institute. And our goal is to raise $10,000. We like when you guys help us raise over $7,000 on the first day of the week.
You know what I sense?
Oh, get the flag. Let's go.
Worthy of the flag. I think our listeners and viewers worthy of the flag.
Let's go. Awesome start out of the gate. We appreciate you. So just for some details here and some Viking specific stuff. So over at scorenorth.com/bid, that's scorenorth.com/bid, we have all kinds of amazing sports and show related experiences up for you to buy. There's buy it nows. There's items to bid on. And then you can also just make a general donation as well. And all proceeds go to benefit Courage Kenny, which works with children and adults who experience life-altering injuries and disabilities. And so right now, just on the Vikings-related front, there's two items up for bid. One of them is the Monday Night Football Purple Daily Experience. 4 ninth-row tickets to see Vikings-Niners on October 23rd, and a $200 gift card to Red Rabbit, plus Purple Daily pint glasses and koozies. So that is up for bid right now. And then there's also dinner with us, dinner with the Purple Daily crew at Red Rabbit. Dinner on us, by the way, are courtesy of Red Rabbit, but you do bid to come hang out with us and to have dinner. Once you get there, we will pay for dinner, just so you know, in case that's unclear. But that's up for grabs right now, and then a bunch of other cool experiences. There's still, I believe, some Pearl Jam suite tickets available to hang out with Declan.
Yeah.
Yes, on August 31st. So scorenorth.com/bid. Judd is a wonderful dinner guest, okay? You guys will have a great time. Yeah. It'll be great. He'll remember your name, maybe. We'll see.
And Red Rabbit, you cannot beat it.
Middle seaters, too. Judd, Mackie, Judd, Declan, middle seaters. It's a whole Curb Your Enthusiasm episode, so we'll be in the middle seats. We'll be in control of the conversation. It'll be a great time. It's my favorite spot. I love Red Rabbit, so this is great. Yes.
If we have to swap out the middle seat halfway through.
So did I ever tell you guys about the time that I was... Dude, you got to move. You got to move. You're not a middle seater.
So if you want the full Purple Daily Curb experience, you can bid on dinner with the Purple Daily crew. So thank you for the great start. Let's keep raising money for a great cause here all week long. ScoreNorth.com/bid. Today's show, Judd's Camp Notes, presented by our friends at TCL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning picture quality. And TCL makes more than just TVs. They offer mobile products, audio devices, and home appliances. TCL brings you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. Learn more at TCL.com. All right, Judd, the Camp Notes have just been fire the last couple weeks. We expect today will be no different.
We did an hour off a weekend of practices coming off the Seattle game yesterday. Don't have an hour today, but we do have anticipation. Vikings are off today. They basically went through a walkthrough on Monday because we have back-to-back, the first of 2 weeks, joint practices. The Titans in town for lengthy joint practices, 11:45 to 2 p.m. on Wednesday and Thursday. The Arizona Cardinals will then be in town next week in anticipation of a preseason game that I don't think is going to be nearly as interesting as the joint practices. So here's what I've got for you guys today. I have 6 different position battles, not all starting spots, but depth spots as well. 6 different position battles going into the joint practices that I think are going to be cleared up, at least like right now. We anticipate who is going to win jobs, but I think that these joint practices are going to go a long way towards either securing jobs for players and or flipping them, much like a vote, flipping them. Can you flip the backup cornerback? Can you flip the defensive line?
Wow.
So let's get to that. And for all the coach speak that we get, I do believe when Kevin O'Connell said on Saturday, these are going to be the most important weeks of camp, I buy it. Like, these are going to be huge, and these joint practices are huge. The preseason games will be big for young players and guys trying to make the bottom of the roster, but these joint practices are going to separate things. So I've got 6 of them. Are we ready?
Oh my God, I don't know if I'm ready. I
don't know,
Okay.
man.
Okay.
We'll have to get ready real quick here. Because the Camp Notes train does not stop.
No, it does not. Stops for nobody. And just remember, if you want the truth about what is taking place in Eagan, you come to Purple Daily and Camp Notes, okay? Because we're not gonna paint a rosy picture if there is not one. We're gonna give you the honest truth. I want to start at running back. Obviously, Alexander Mattison has the top job, but there is still an outside chance that there is a battle for the second spot. Now, Ty Chandler, incredibly impressive. Incredible, he's probably too strong. He was impressive on Thursday.
He's pretty impressed. He
was impressive. Yeah, incredibly
kind of
impressive. I didn't need incredibly. I'd like to apologize. I'd like to walk that word back. I'm recalling
mildly
that word.
impressive.
I'm recalling that word on X. Ty Chandler, though, and here's the interesting thing, and I'm very curious about to see if this guy is back this week. Kene Nwangwu, who has not practiced in like 10 days, 14 days. And if you recall, when the first unofficial depth chart, and of course O'Connell, like every coach, said, don't take this with a grain of salt, it means nothing. But when the first depth chart was released before the Seattle game, Kene Nwangwu was the second back. And I told you guys coming out of spring practices that I thought Kene Nwangwu had a chance to beat out Ty Chandler for that job.
No.
If Kene Nwangwu is not on the field for these practices, I guess I wondered a couple of things. One is I do think that he's going to make the team, so I don't think he's in jeopardy of being cut at all. But I do wonder if we are looking at him not starting the season on the active roster. And the other thing is, yes, Ty Chandler, that's great for him. But do you then pull the trigger on bringing in a more established, because there's a few of them out there, running back? Because at some point in time, if Nwangwu continues to miss practices, like you can't rely on that. And I do feel like the running back depth chart, the depth in that room is not fantastic, which is why Kareem Hunt came in for a workout last Friday.
Yeah.
So very interesting to see what transpires here, because if Nwangwu is out Wednesday and Thursday, I think you're looking at least toying with the idea of bringing in another body. And just to be very clear, Dwayne McBride, in my opinion, the 7th round pick, is a practice squad guy.
So he's not even at this point. Your running back fullback number for the 53 is probably 4 right now, right? And it's Alex Mattison, CJ Ham, Ty Chandler, and then Kene Nwangwu if he's healthy.
Yes.
But then like let's say you do go forward, you brought in Kareem Hunt for a visit. Let's say you bring Kareem Hunt in and you sign him. He's not making the team at the expense of Dwayne McBride, because I don't right now, unless I'm wrong on this, I don't think Dwayne McBride's part of the 4. Does he make the roster in place of one of the other guys?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Would they boot Nwangwu off if they think that like Powell can return kicks?
If he continues to not practice, I don't think that they necessarily cut him. I think that there's an off chance that they IR him for the first part, because that's what now, 3-4 games. Because it used to be back in the day that if you put a guy on IR before the season, he was out for the entire year. And then I think it went to like 4 weeks, and now I think it's down to 3. But the only other name, and a guy that was brought in after training camp started, was from the DC Avengers of the XFL.
Is it
Abram
the Defender,
Smith.
the DC Defenders, or Declan's the XFL guy?
Yeah, what's
Defenders?
Defenders. Okay.
The Defenders. Okay.
Okay, so Abram Smith is there as a body. I don't know, like he's got some chances, not a ton, but I just think that this is a very interesting predicament, because while I agree with the decision to let Cook go, one, it's looking more and more like to start the season, although we didn't expect this, I think that there is a chance Mattison is to start the season a bell cow type of guy because of the lack of depth. But second is, if they don't want that, I don't know that they have that room complete yet. So these next 2 days are going to be sort of a referendum, first on how Ty Chandler just practices, but second of all, if Nwangwu's not there, I think at some point they have to say, okay, there's a chance he's not going to start the season on the 53.
Would you guys sign Kareem Hunt?
No, there's too much baggage. I wouldn't put I know.
I mean, I don't love.
He's not good enough still.
I would say he's better than Ty Chandler. He's better than Dwayne McBride.
Oh yeah, he's better than Dwayne McBride for sure.
So I mean, from that just a personnel standpoint, he would be the second best running back on this roster right now.
I think Declan's right, but I also think at some point you're going to need someone to come up from that young crop. I would rather see Ty Chandler get a shot to be the second running back. You're not getting a 5 years ago version of Kareem Hunt.
Right.
So I'm very 50-50 on this, but I'd probably lean no.
And the most important thing too is I think that we assumed that Dwayne McBride had an excellent chance to make the roster. So he would have been the third guy as far as running backs go in that room. But after watching him now, he's not prepared to play. So this is as much a question of if Nwangwu's not set to play, you need another body. And is Abram Smith that guy? Or do you go outside again? I think it's really hard to talk about your culture shield and your culture and this and that and bring in Kareem Hunt.
Well, keep in mind, he has only touched, at least carries-wise, not receptions, so I'm not going to add this up, but only 200 carries the last 2 years. So it's not like, he had a bulk in his rookie year, and then he had the issue, he got cut, but it's not like he has been this bell cow for 5-6 years, and there's too much mileage on the tires. Like, there is still enough there, in my opinion, that warrants bringing him in.
But then if you start to look at, like, that's one way to look at it, that it's not like he's been carrying the ball 300 times, but then if you look at he's under 4 yards a carry last year, even in limited carries. And I think his yards per reception was like 6 yards per catch, which is awful, even for a running back. Like, running backs are going to have lower yards per catch than receivers because most of the balls they're catching are like from the line of scrimmage. But I'd want to know how much of that is him just not being the same guy versus Cleveland being a train wreck last year. And then Deshaun Watson coming in later, but like that was not a good football team. So, but that's why the Vikings meet with him to figure out how much gas do you have left in the tank there. Are you still an ass? Are you still committing crimes? Yeah. What is your problem?
We have a culture shield here. Do you believe in our culture shield, Kareem? Anyway, so that's the first one. Number 2 of the 6 is another depth battle, which is clearing up. And I think right now that there is a clear leader in the clubhouse, but that could change. And that is cornerback number 3. So it's essentially a starting job. When the Vikings are in the base nickel, they're going to have a Caleb Evans outside, I think on the right. They're going to have Byron Murphy Jr., who will start on the outside in the base defense. But when they're in the nickel, Byron Murphy Jr. is going to move inside. And that brings us to Mekhi Blackmon or Joanne Williams. Now, Joanne, who was signed as a free agent, and I think was the second-round pick of the Patriots a few years back, but has very limited starting experience, open training camp as a starter. Mekhi Blackmon quickly overtook him and has been impressive, but he's still a rookie. And so I think that these practices against the Titans and Cardinals are going to go a long way towards, can we trust you? Can we trust you to hold? Can we trust you in week 1 when Mike Evans, and I know that Baker Mayfield is no great shakes, right? But in week 1, when you've got some pretty good receivers, can we trust you? So I think that the next 2 joint practices, and the Titans got some talent here, are going to go a long way towards, you know what, let's pull the trigger and start the rookie, or let's be safe here. Joanne might not be great, but we at least deem him to be more reliable. So I think this is a chance for Joanne Williams to get back in this race and possibly short term try and overtake Mekhi Blackmon again.
Is it fair to say that both Blackmon and Williams have been better in training camp than maybe you would have anticipated, with Williams being kind of a like a falling stock former second-round pick, and then Blackmon being a rookie?
Yes, because Blackmon has been superior to Booth, and Booth is a second-round pick with an injury history, but a year in the league, and Blackmon is a 3rd round pick who just got here. So yeah. He has been, and Blackman's got talent. I guess my point is this: when you're going against, though, when you start going against receivers on opposing teams and teams are strategizing to pick you apart, what's your response then? Now, the one good thing that Blackman and the rest of the corners get is they do take daily snaps against Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne. So they do get valuable reps against a receiving core that is probably stacks up as one of the best in the league when we're talking about 3 deep. But I think that these joint practices are going to give Brian Flores a pretty good read. And I think something else that's important to point out is I don't think Brian Flores cares who you are. I don't think he cares like, oh, this guy was a 2nd round pick I think Brian Flores cares about one thing. He was told to fix this train wreck. And the only way to fix the train wreck is to do what you see fit.
And you might have just answered the question, but the question I would have is like, why has a Caleb Evans been the one that has flashed the most out of this group? Because like, if you would have told me beginning of OTA's training camp, like I would have had him behind Booth. I would certainly not have him as like a lock to be a starter. And I feel like it's tracking that he is a lock to be a starter. So is it just him answering that question, basically, of Brian Flores saying that he's the best of this bunch so far?
And I think it's 2 things. I think one, yes, and talent plays a role. But I think another big thing is, and this is where Cine has fallen short. Do you know the system inside and out? Do you react quickly? Are you in the right place? You might get beat, but are you in the right place? Because if you're taking gambles, if you are in the wrong place, I think with a guy like Flores, you just can't play. And so I think what I would say on a Caleb Evans, and I agree with you, Dex, I think he's got a starting spot barring injury lockdown. I think it's the reliability. I think that's the most important starting point. And then can you make plays off of that? But there is definitely something about Booth and Cine that they don't trust. And I don't think it's that they're talentless players. In this league, you have to be exactly where you're supposed to be. And I think that's what the Caleb Evans does really well.
Yeah. Yep. It's, I think you're right. It is in terms of like this week being a big week for these cornerbacks. And it's great that you get to go against Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison in practice, but going against another team that is running maybe a different scheme and different, like it's a whole different experience for some of these players than what you're getting against your own team. So I'm very excited to start watching that Wednesday and Thursday for these joint practices. All right. Mm-hmm. We got the third position battle out of 6 here. Number
3 is actually one that is going to be, because I sat down and did these last night. And at first I'm like, is this important? And then I said, of course it's important, Sports Dad. This is football we're talking about. Upper echelon football, a 13-win team. Wide receivers 2 and 3. Okay.
Well, okay.
Now I think it's going to be Justin Jefferson 1, Addison 2, Osborne 3. But really? KJ Osborne's a good player. Don't dismiss him. I mean, I think Jordan Addison has more God-given gifts, but KJ Osborne time and time again has popped up. Now, you might say, well, Judd, they're both going to play. I mean, look at last year. 11 personnel, baby. 11 personnel means 3 receivers.
Yeah.
But this team's going to use more 12 personnel, a running back and 2 tight ends. So now all of a sudden you're down to, let's do the math. Today's number here on Purple Daily from the count is 2.
1, 2, 3, 2.
So this is going to be interesting. Now I think it's Addison and Jefferson, and including the preseason game against the Seahawks on Thursday. Addison has done nothing to make me think that he can't run routes crisply. He certainly has great hands, and I think he has the attributes of an immediate starter. But again, KJ Osborne's there. KJ Osborne knows the system. Right or wrong, Kirk trusts him, clearly trusts him.
Yeah.
So I do think it's going to be, now if Addison falls to 3, I think it's going to be a Jefferson thing where about 2 or 3 games in, he goes to 2. That's the first one. The second one, wide receiver number 5. And it's much like the running backs. So in my opinion, Brandon Powell is 4. Brandon Powell has this teammate. I think he's got this teammate.
Oh.
Yes.
Hold on. I feel like that's a declaration that we haven't.
Yes.
We have not gone that far yet.
Okay, I'm going to go with he has this team made.
Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
wide receiver 5 is this: Jalen Reagor or Jalen Naylor, who still has not practiced. This is a lot like the Wongwu thing since the first practice. And there is a chance, I think now, with the way things are tracking, that Naylor doesn't begin the season on the active roster. He might be IR'd. I don't know what he's dealing with, but it's clearly like they thought he'd be back by now, and he's not. Yeah. That's going to give Reagor, who's had a very up and down camp, because when he looks good, he looks good. When he looks bad, he runs the wrong routes and drives the head coach crazy. So unless there's a young receiver that they really like, that they would consider IRing Naylor, cutting Reagor, and keeping, I think these next couple practices, joint practices, will be very important, as well as the preseason games, for if Jalen Reagor makes the 53 out of camp.
All right, I want to add some seasoning here to your wide receiver speculation. So
you do that. One
area that we haven't really talked about, but you've I think diagrammed perfectly, that they're going to run more 12 personnel than they did last year. That Rams offense that Kevin O'Connell came from, the Sean McVay, that was the heaviest 11 personnel, meaning 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers. There was a lot of 11 personnel for the Vikings last year. They want to get heavier. They want to put Josh Oliver on the field in place of a 3rd wide receiver. Hawkinson kind of acts as a 3rd wide receiver too. So you can play that 12 personnel. Instead of having 3 wide receivers, you have 2 wide receivers with 2 tight ends instead of 1 tight end. But you don't lose a lot in the passing game because, again, TJ Hawkinson is a great pass-catching tight end. But with all of this is the Vikings running game last year was really just blah and mediocre. Forget about the fact that Dalvin ran for 1,200 yards or whatever it was. On a rate basis, almost everything about the Vikings running game was underwhelming. I don't know who on the receiver side is going to emerge as a run blocking wide receiver. Like, there are times in Adam Thielen's career before, the Vikings said goodbye to him, that he was one of the best run blocking wide receivers in the NFL. Now, the last couple of years, it's dropped off a little bit because he's not the same. He can't get out there as quickly as he used to. I mean, Adam Thielen, the first 5 years of his career, he had, I would say this, in 3 of the first 5 years of his career, he had PFF run blocking grades of 91, 89, and 84. And then the other ones were respectable too. He was legitimately, and we watched it with our eyes, right? Justin Jefferson is actually currently the highest graded run blocking wide receiver that the Vikings have. He's like above average compared to the qualified wide receivers. I want to know between KJ Osborne, who has not been a great run blocking wide receiver according to Pro Football Focus, and Jordan Addison, who in the couple looks that he had in that preseason game was not impressive, right?
Yep.
I actually think it's going to be more about which one of those 2 guys can run block on the edge the most reliably. That guy is going to get more snaps as the number 2 wide receiver early in the season. That's my thought and opinion.
Interesting. What was Brandon Powell's run blocking grade with the Rams? Do you have that?
Let me give me 1 second here.
I have no idea. So
Brandon Powell, let's see here. Let's just bring up his little run blocking. Brandon Powell last year graded very poorly as a run blocker.
Okay.
He's largely a very poor run blocker. You also have to keep in mind, Brandon Powell is 5'8" and like 180 pounds.
Yes,
he doesn't have the arms and the length need. I mean, Thielen's not a huge guy, but Thielen has longer arms than that.
Yeah.
So, and Thielen's like he's a well put together guy, right? He's probably 20 pounds heavier than Brandon Powell.
I hear you.
Some of it's want to, some of it's like, are you 5'8"?
Right.
Good luck getting out there on a 6'1" cornerback or a linebacker or whatever it is, right?
And I guess if you are in 12 personnel too, and Hawkinson is out there with Oliver, there is a case to be made that they can each take a side to help out a bit as well. But yeah, it's a great point. Like, we don't talk about that enough, because the importance of blocking, especially downfield, by a receiver is huge. In fact, when I covered the team back when I was the lead beat writer for the Star Tribune back in the day.
That's lead, L-E-A-D, lead beat writer.
I once did a story with wide receivers coach George Stewart. I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday was wide receiver blocking day. And like the receivers hated it. Mm-hmm. Like that's what they would work on. And they absolutely hated that day. But there is a huge premium put on that. And that's a really good point. And I'm going to just guess off the top of my head, Jalen Reagor, not a great wide receiver blocker.
Let's look it up. Let's be fair to Jalen. Hold on. I think he'd probably be playing more often in his career if he was, right?
Yeah, and that's attention to detail thing. And I don't know that I think part of his problem is attention to detail. Where like Jefferson is Mr. Attention to Detail.
Jalen Reagor as a run blocker, according to Pro Football Focus, he has not been graded above 59.5 as a run blocker in his career.
Yeah, that's attention to detail.
It's also just like it's not as a receiver when you spend time in the off season, what are you devoting your pie chart of things you practice with your personal trainer, whatever, route running, footwork, quickness off the line of scrimmage, getting off of jams, route running, everything. You probably don't practice run blocking much. It's just something
to start doing.
Well, if you're a guy like Reagor and you want to make the team, there is a gap here. If somebody can step up and dude, they signed Josh Oliver to run block, right?
Yes.
They're actively looking for guys that aren't offensive linemen. They expect those guys to run block to help them spring 20-yard runs, which they couldn't do last year.
He is a massive, massive man.
Yes.
Josh Oliver's absolutely huge.
He is, he is large, yes. Are we at halftime of the position battles here?
And what I would like to do right now is call my own shot. I would like to go off script and call my own shot. Because are we prepared to talk about my friends at Finch Home Solutions? Are we prepared to talk about the fact that if anything goes, if you have an electrical issue, that Finch van, and yes, that is very Gallahorn-like, is going to show up, meet, beep, beep, in front of your house. And you know what? Cody and his team are going to get out of that van, and they're going to come into your house, and they are going to fix whatever is wrong. I'm talking about from like a light socket or something so small, they can fix that. Or I'm talking about the potential, if you've got an old home, of rewiring your entire home. There is no project too big. There is no project too small. And I'm going to tell you right now, they are fast, they're efficient, they are courteous. They are going to take care of the problem and be done. And they are going to do it extremely quickly. The whole experience is just absolutely no hassle. And coming from Sportsnet, I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes to experiences, hassle sucks. Finch is all about no hassle. And right now, a free electrical panel inspection that can be done by Finch, or $199 for a home safety inspection. That is important too. Yeah. It's as simple as this: a phone call, 612-357-2604. And now you're saying, Sports Dad, you are an old geezer. I don't make phone calls. I like to go online, and I got an answer for you. FinchHomeSolutions.com. FinchHomeSolutions.com. Fill out the form. Finch arrives. They do the job. FinchHomeSolutions.com. And of course, tell them the guys from Purple Daily, who are at halftime of their position breakdowns, sent you.
Yeah, let's take you on a journey here. So now you've spent the morning maybe feeling accomplished because you just had Finch Home Solutions over to your house, right? They fixed whatever needs to be fixed, and now you're hungry. It's time to go to Burger Press in Edina. Okay, we've seen multiple Purple Daily listeners have sent us pictures and video of their trips to Burger Press in Edina, owned and operated by homegrown Minnesota sports fans, by the way. This is an independently owned restaurant. It's not a chain. And the food is unbelievable. The burgers, the Nathan's hot dogs, maybe you grab some of those wings, crispy chicken sandwiches. You got to try the milkshakes as well. Oh, yeah. Just fantastic food off of 494 and France Avenue. It's Burger Press. Look for the YouTube audience. The cheese just dripping off of those pressed burgers.
You talk about the hot dogs.
Oh,
those Nathan hot dogs.
Don't tempt me. So good. 494 on France Avenue, Burger Press in Edina. And when you're done with that, as the journey continues here, maybe wash it down with one of those Before I Die lagers from our friends at Surly Brewing Company.
That is a fantastic idea. Look at that. Somebody was by the pool enjoying a Before I Die. I'm going to guess that was out in the suburbs. I'm going to guess that was our friend.
Does that can know how to swim? Just be careful.
Where's the life preserver? You thoughtless, you know what? Anyway, Football season is here, and that means the Before I Die mission has started again. Training camp going on. We are, less than a month now until the regular season starts. Before I Die, it's the mission at Surly. It's the mission of this show. And we're starting to see cans again, but I encourage you, show us your cans. It might be a Before I Die. It might be Furious. Whatever it is, at Jay Zolgad on X. I want to see your cans enjoying it because football season is back. Fall is coming soon, but that means only that Surly's beers are more delicious.
Let's go. All right. The second half now. So we're going through these tight position battles. We talked about RB2, CB3, and WR2, 3, and 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's time to get to the other 3 tightly contested position battles.
Okay. I think we're going to get into one here that a lot of people are excited about, and I got to be honest, rightfully so. ILB, inside linebacker, Brian Asamoah, who's been out of late because of an undisclosed injury. But I urge you to remember that before he left with whatever is wrong, Ivan Pace Jr., the pretty well paid UDFA rookie from Cincinnati, was already getting first team reps. So Ivan Pace didn't like gravy train off. Asamoah's hurt. He's gotten a lot more reps, but both of those guys were getting first team reps. And just to be very clear, at the start of training camp, this was Brian Asamoah's job. This is a real competition, and I'm not calling it, but I am saying if you don't think that the joint practices and heck, the preseason games too are important, you're absolutely crazy. Now, I keep getting notes about Pace will start for Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks is going to lose. Brian Flores wants the stability. I'm not saying Jordan Hicks plays every down, okay? Yeah. But Jordan Hicks has a roster spot because Harrison Smith, Daniil Hunter, Jordan Hicks. He wants the stability of guys who know what they're doing. And if you take Jordan Hicks out and put, let's say, Pace and Asamoah side by side, you're inviting potential disaster. That Asamoah Pace job is going to be one of causing chaos. It's going to be one of being in the right place at the right time, but that's going to change a ton. Jordan Hicks is going to be, think of Jordan Hicks as the pillar. He's going to be the reliable guy there, but he's not super fast, and that's not great, but that's okay. But the other job of the ILB in this defense is going to be to mix things up. I think this is one of the most intriguing races, and I honestly think that the next 2 weeks are going to essentially decide who's on the field on September 10th, provided Asamoah returns from whatever is ailing him right now.
What are the chances that Ivan Pace is just the ultimate Mr. Man? He'd be the Mr. Mankato at this point, right? There's no way. There's other candidates, but
I mean, Mekhi Blackman would challenge him as a 3rd-round pick, but Pace is too good a story. It's a great story.
So what are the chances that we're all just falling in love with a great story and he's with the starters, right? But like they really only had one actual NFL linebacker, really. I mean, it's not like it would. Imagine if a wide receiver was getting, oh my God, there's a guy getting reps next to Justin Jefferson when they already have all these other guys. Are we just falling in love with a great story, or do you think he's set to be just a guy that 7 rounds worth of teams missed on, and now he's going to be a starting NFL linebacker?
If I knew what this defense was going to provide exactly, I might say it's a good story, but just back off. But here's the thing about what Flores is doing. Like, this is chaos. He wants guys that are young and fast. And again, I don't think he cares who was drafted. So Asamoah is the favorite here, but Booth or Cine, or in this case, Asamoah, might be crazy draft picks, but I'm pretty sure Brian Flores has complete control here. And if you watch, and Phil, you've been to 2 or 3 practices, you've seen what this defense is doing. Ivan Pace fits that mold. Mm-hmm. Like he is I would call him this. He's a hybrid safety. Like at his size, he looks like a safety. But the Vikings want to cause as much confusion as possible. Do I think that there are going to be heavy rotations on defense? Absolutely. So it's not like Pace is going to be out there all the time. But do I think that there's a chance that in the mind of Brian Flores, Ivan Pace Jr. overtakes what he perceives Asamoah can bring, especially if Asamoah is hurt? Yes. So like I am way more open to interpretation here because of what we don't know about what Flores is going to do. And I think Flores loves it that way.
Can I say too that coverage is going to be the thing that we've seen Ivan Pace in college and now in training camp practices and preseason games. We see him attack in the run game, move forward. We saw, the amount of times he created pressure at Cincinnati on blitzes and whatever. And Tennessee maybe will provide some opportunities here this week, moving backwards, moving side to side, covering tight ends.
Which Hendricks was great at when he was in his prime, right?
Yeah, but was not great at last year. And
You're
it was the middle of the field and linebackers not being able to keep up with foot speed was a huge problem. But it's not just foot speed too. It's just sometimes it's like it's arms. There's different things that go into it. And Ivan Pace, there is a reason why he wasn't drafted. And I'm wondering if we haven't seen that reason exposed yet. And maybe I'd like to see Tennessee throw a bunch of stuff out there and let's see if these guys can sink or swim. And Ivan Pace is at the top of that list for me. I want to know, is he for real? Why is he just like, okay, 250 picks go by and like this guy's just available and now he's one of the best players in the Vikings defense? It doesn't make sense to me.
No, I think it's size. And there was at least one play against the Seahawks on Thursday where he definitely did not look good in coverage. But here's the conundrum, though. Going back to your point from like 6 months ago, there's no guarantee Asamoah was great there either.
Yeah.
So like this might be, can you disguise things up as much as possible? And which one, like there's a chance that especially against the pass, dropping into coverage, neither one of those guys is going to be great at first. So which one is the best right now? Because I think one of them is going to play. I don't think they're going to go out and get another guy to play. Now, I do think it's important to reiterate again, there's going to be a lot of rotation here. Like there's going to be a lot of guys that play. And this is where Hicks becomes important too, because he's going to have to be sort of for Asamoah and or Pace, a coach on the field. Because he's going to be able to tell them what they need to do without necessarily having the speed to get there himself.
Yep. Interesting stuff. All right, let's keep moving here. We've got 2 position battle groups left. What's your number 5?
All right, my number 5 is safety 4. So safety 1, obviously Harrison Smith. Safety 2, starter Cam Bynum. Safety 3, Josh Metellus, who's going to play, I think, a lot. They're going to use a big nickel and a big dime. Like they're going to find a lot of ways to incorporate Josh. And by the way, in this case, Josh and Ivan Pace are going to probably be playing at the same depths a lot. Like again, this is driven by the ability to have guys that are hybrid safety linebackers. So this gets to be safety 4 because when training camp started, the backup safeties were Metellus and Cine in second team base, okay? Because Metellus is going to move around in the packages where he plays with the first team. But now Theo Jackson, who in my opinion has had a really good camp and I think has better instincts at this point in his career than Cine does, is with Cine on the second team, which leads me to believe that that's not pressing Metellus, that's pressing Cine. So look, I'm not sure about you guys. I didn't see anything in the Thursday night game that led me to believe Cine can be truly trusted. And we could talk about the fact he's coming off a gruesome and devastating broken leg, but the reality is this. He wasn't playing on defense before that. Yep. Like he is a first round pick. He is a safety. I don't think there's any way around this. He has disappointed them so far. So I do think, and just to be very, very clear, I'm not saying he's going to be cut. He's going to make the roster. He's a first round pick. But I do think that there is a chance that the trust from Brian Flores and Theo Jackson to start the season is higher than it will be in Lewis Cine.
Yeah. And sometimes, even if you're not watching all the practices, whatever, like sometimes you just have to use your senses, right? This was one of the worst defenses in the NFL last year. They have a bunch of positions wide open. They have a new defensive coordinator that's bringing in a clean slate of opinion on every player, right? Mm-hmm. And even with all of that opportunity, Lewis Cine is still nowhere near starting or being trustworthy enough to start.
Exactly.
So that kind of says it all. It doesn't mean that he can't ever improve and be a starter, but that's where we're at going into his second full season in the NFL.
And when the Vikings telecast criticizes you, you're not playing well. And Pete Bursich made a couple of comments about his tackling technique. Like I think there are some very simplistic things he doesn't do right.
Yeah.
And like when you get here, I don't know that those like there's a ton of nuanced things that become important. But I think when you get here and like your tackling technique is off, the coaches are probably like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. And then all right, the sixth and final position group battle.
Defensive line, may I suggest this is for defensive line competition spots number 5 and 6. And this is a three-way battle of the pronunciations. Jaquelin Roy, who has been out injured, who is I believe a 5th round pick.
Yeah.
Uzezi Otamewu. He has a new pronunciation. I thought it was Otamwu, but it's now Otamewu. And Ross Blacklock, who I have thought was going to get traded for. I think they sent a 6th round pick to the Houston Texans last year, but he's seeing playing time. So I think that this is a 3-way competition on the depth chart for 2 spots. The fact that Roy has missed time certainly hurts him. He's a 5th round pick. I'm guessing you could get him through to the practice squad, Phil. Not positive, but I think that you could. Otamewu, I think, is going to make it. So this might come down to Roy and Blacklock. And Blacklock, again, they traded for him, so they definitely liked him. I've been saying for a couple weeks, I think he's the odd man out. But with Roy being out now, I'm not positive. And I do think that Roy needs to get back, or that there's a very good chance Blacklock gets ahead of Roy and makes the 53 out of training camp.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think it's one of the positions that they just don't have a lot of dominant players or depth at, right? They're just kind of hoping for guys to step up and be quality starters for one. I mean, Harrison Phillips and Dean Lowry, I guess, are reliable enough. Tonga played well in some limited snaps last year, but beyond that, it's like, all right, are there NFL players here that you could trust for 250 or 300 snaps at some point? At some point, they will have to draft a 1st or 2nd round interior defensive lineman, I think, who can maybe even make a push and get after opposing quarterbacks. They don't have a whole lot of that right now in that position group.
I am concerned about, at this point too, to go back to what you just talked about, the run defense as well. Like, I like what Pace does to blow plays up, but I'm talking about like Tonga. I'm talking about that line. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? And it's hard to, that's tough to tell because it's all interior play until games actually start. But like, if I was to prioritize what I'm concerned about, because I do think that they'll get pressure. I think they've got pressure packages, which is going to help the corners a little bit. Yeah. But let's just say flat out, when teams run, are you going to stop them? I'm concerned about that, and I don't know the answer.
I agree. It's possible that like run blitzes become a way on occasion. Right?
How could you say run blitz and not hit it?
Football.
Thank you.
We'll see. We'll see what Brian Flores has up his sleeve. It's not going to go from one of the worst defenses to a top 5 defense overnight. They're going to be leaky. I think you hope that maybe the aggressiveness can force some extra turnovers, some extra 3rd and longs, 4th and punts, whatever. And we'll see. But wow, there it is. Judd bringing the camp notes today.
So if you're going out there the next 2 days, if you're going out to practice, keep an eye on those battles as you watch the joint practices.
RB2, CB3, WR2, 3, and 5, ILB2, S4, and DL5-6. If you had those on your position battle bingo card, congratulations. You win today. If you have Federated Insurance on your bingo card, it means that you have great frontline protection for your business. All right. They've been around for over 100 years, helping business owners maximize their success through risk management tools and resources. If you are a next generation business owner, maybe you are taking over a business from your family or your parents or whatever it is, Federated works very closely with next generation business owners here too. So check them out at federatedinsurance.com. Find out why so many companies rave about the work that they do. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. All right, boys, great stuff here. Little off day for the Vikings, but not an off day for Judd's camp notes.
Camp notes don't rest. They just wait.
Wow. Daily
They just
Vikings
wait.
entertainment here with Judd Zulgad, Chuck Norris, and Declan Goff. See ya.